Member for Forrest.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Treasurer. Will the Treasurer update the House how the government's strong economic plan has ensured we pay back Labor's debt and repair the budget? Are there any alternatives to this approach?
The Treasurer has the call.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the member for Forrest for reminding this House that when the Labor Party last came to government, they inherited a pristine balance sheet with no government debt, Mr Speaker, because it took John Howard and Peter Costello years to pay back Labor's debt, and now it's been left to the Morrison government to do it again, Mr Speaker. And on budget night, we put the first payment back on Labor's debt, Mr Speaker, with a surplus of $7.1 billion and $45 billion of surpluses over the forward estimates, and a $55 billion turnaround on the fiscal mess that we inherited from the Labor Party, Mr Speaker. We have brought spending under control. Growth in government spending is now the lowest of any government in 50 years, Mr Speaker. The proportion of working-age Australians on welfare is the lowest of any government in 30 years, Mr Speaker. And we have funded hospitals and schools and roads in record amounts, Mr Speaker. And we have done all of that without increasing taxes, Mr Speaker. That is what we've done. Now, the Labor Party are going to take to the Australian people at the next election a plan for at least $200 billion of new taxes. And there's a new booklet out, Mr Speaker, about Labor's taxes, Mr.
Treasurer
Speaker.
knows the rules on props.
And I want to table the booklet, Mr Speaker. Thank you very much. Labor's tax bill, Mr Speaker, $200 billion of new taxes. A housing tax, Mr Speaker, a housing tax with a 50% increase in capital gains that could come at the worst possible time for the housing market, Mr Speaker. A shameful retirees tax on more than 1 million Australians who have done nothing wrong, Mr Speaker. A new tax on superannuation that's going to prevent catch-up contributions from mothers who have been out of the workforce when having children, Mr Speaker. A tax on family businesses, Mr Speaker, which is going to make their lives that much more difficult. And when it comes to the housing tax, Mr Speaker, whatever the Leader of the Opposition says for lower-income earners, what he needs to tell the people of Australia tonight is how he's going to increase their rents, Mr Speaker. Because if you live in Brisbane, your rent will go up by up to $90 a week, Mr Speaker. If you're in Melbourne, your rent will go up by $65 a week, up to $65 a week. If you're in Adelaide or if you're in Perth, your rent will go up by $60, up to $60 a week, Mr Speaker. And if you're in Sydney, under Labor's plan, your rent will go up by $50 a week, Mr Speaker, by up to $50 a week. So the Labor Party has a plan for higher taxes. Any promise they make tonight, the Australian people will know, are only funded by higher taxes.